Hi, I'm Eileen from Cucumber Clothing. I'm wearing a Shell PJ top, by the way, and I'm here today with the wonderful Kate Szell, formerly a lawyer and now a producer of science programs. And she's here today to speak to us about the sky at night. So Kate, tell us briefly, how did you do the jump from law into television production?
Well, I was a lawyer for many, many years. I really only did it to earn money, got to earn money somehow. And I fell in love with science. I had a science degree originally, and I hadn't done anything with it, went into law afterwards. But I fell in love with science, and I thought I wanted to do something with science in it and something that let me find out a bit more about the world. So I planned some time off work. I planned 2 years where I could be off work and not earn any money. And thought, let's see where it takes me. And one of the things I got, I applied for all sorts of things, everything I could think of, was some work experience at the BBC in science TV, and I absolutely loved it. It's amazing. It just gives you the carte blanche to poke into what people are doing, talk to amazing people, find out all sorts of things about how the world works.
Well, that sounds.
And that's what I do now.
Well, that sounds amazing. Because I think a lot of us have thought about midlife career jumps.
Yeah, I do say it's my midlife crisis, and it's the best thing I've ever done, and I'm still having my midlife crisis.
Right. Okay, as long as you're enjoying it, I think that's the main thing. So recently, most recently, been producing a space program, which is why you're here today to help us learn a bit more about the world around us. Can you tell us what it is?
Well, I was lucky enough to work on The Sky at Night. The Sky at Night is a monthly program, and it's the longest running science program anywhere in the universe, as far as we know.
Really? In the whole world?
In the whole world, yes, the longest one. It's been going for over 60 years.
It's
amazing. Still in its first series.
Seriously?
Yes.
Okay,
in fact,
we'll get up to
episode 800 soon.
Wow.
But it's an amazing program, and
Okay.
it is totally unique. I don't think there's anything else like it anywhere. And it looks at what you can see in the night sky and what's going on in terms of space discovery every month. And a program I've just worked on, which is one of the first that I've actually produced and directed myself, which is very exciting, is all about how to look at the night sky if you know nothing about it. So how to look at the night sky
Hands
as
up.
a beginner.
This is all of us right now here. So how to look at the night sky at night. So let's start at the very beginning. Clearly we know the stars are up there somewhere, but I mean, I live in a big city. I think maybe a lot of other people do. If you're lucky enough to live in the countryside, it might be more evident where to start looking. But if you do live somewhere which is more urban, has lots of light pollution, where do you start? What would you do?
The best thing to do is to find somewhere where you can see something at night. A lot of people think that in order to enjoy the night sky, you have to go out into the countryside, you have to go somewhere where there's no light pollution.
Yeah.
And certainly if you do that, you get an amazing view.
Yes.
But you don't have to do that, and it's not possible to do that very often. In fact, what I think is a lot better is to find somewhere where you can see a bit of night sky. There'll be somewhere, even in light polluted London.
Hampstead Heath.
Hampstead Heath. On your walk home, you'll find that there's somewhere where there aren't so many street lights. You can just look up and you can see a bit of the sky. You don't even have to go off onto Hampstead Heath.
Yeah.
It's much better to find somewhere where you can see something. Look at it lots. Regularly, just a little bit, but regularly whenever the clouds allow, which of late they haven't really, but maybe they will in the future. So look at it whenever the clouds allow, and you'll start to recognise things that you can see in the sky.
Okay.
It will change, but you'll also get to understand those changes too.
Yeah, I think I said to you the other day that the one thing I know where the sun is, which is good. Start. The moon, and then the Big Dipper. But beyond that, I really don't know what I'm looking at. I know that Venus is up there somewhere because I read it in a book. That's quite an easier planet to see. But once we start looking up, once we find our little space between the lamps on our street, we find our bit of sky. What do you think? What should we be seeing? What should we be looking for? What planets and stars can we see?
Well, the most obvious thing that you'll see sometimes is the moon, and that's amazing to see. But when the moon isn't there, you'll see little dots of light, and most of those will be stars. But some of them sometimes will be planets, and planets can be amazing to look at. The thing about planets is that when they're there and where they are in the night sky changes an awful lot.
Yes, that is incredibly confusing. And also satellites, because sometimes when you see this really bright speck in the sky, I suddenly realise it's got to be a satellite because it's actually moving incredibly quickly.
Yes, if it's not flashing, that's an aeroplane.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But yes, no, you see
just
it,
a UFO.
if you see a line going across, and you can see the International Space Station. And if you look on the internet, you can find times as to when you can see it and where, and you can just see this line going across.
Oh gosh,
which is
that's
really quite amazing, and think about the astronauts up there in the International Space Station.
So we know that there are lots of things up there that we can see, other than just with the naked eye. Does it make an enormous difference if you have a telescope, or if you've got access to a telescope, a friend, or maybe an observatory near you? Greenwich has an observatory.
Greenwich has an observatory. There's an observatory on the at the top of Hampstead. There are quite a few observatories all the way around the country.
Yeah.
In fact, wherever you are, if you find a local astronomy group, they'll be happy to take you out, and you can use their telescopes. But really, using telescopes is kind of for when you've got a bit of a hang of what's up there anyway, because what you'll see is quite different. You'll see a much closer up view of certain things in the night sky, and it's probably better to get an idea of what's going on up there first of all, before you start thinking about telescopes. Certainly before you start buying one. Don't think, oh, I'm going to get to know the night sky and I'm going to buy a telescope. The telescope will sit there, it'll sit in the corner of a room, it'll gather dust, your other half will get really annoyed with you.
Yeah, and eventually it will go onto eBay and get sold to some
exactly.
unsuspecting would-be stargazer.
And you'll put yourself off as well. You think, oh, night skies, it's just too much of an effort to look at, and it's not. If you find somewhere, start looking at it regularly. Now, planets, as I said, planets are, one of the reasons I'd like to talk about planets is right now in January, Venus is beautiful. Venus is really bright.
I like this.
Well, January this year, it might not always be up, but it's really beautiful right now in the twilight, so just as the sun's going down.
Okay.
Sort of, it's about 5 now, you can see it between 5 and about 7.
So which direction should we be looking at?
If you look southwest, and just look up, you'll see a bright light.
Okay.
And if you look at it long enough, if you see a bright light in the sky, it might well be an aeroplane.
Yeah.
But if it stays, if it doesn't move, it's not.
That's the key thing.
And Venus is there at the moment, and it's absolutely beautiful. So
southwest for me means, because the moon rises in the east, so basically you're looking away from where the moon is rising if it's twilight.
Yes, I think where the moon is at the moment. The moon also, when you can see it and where it is, changes quite a bit.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, earlier, a few weeks back, it was quite close to the moon. It is confusing.
So really, start from just enjoying it. Start from just looking at the sky and enjoying it, and trying to identify a few key things that you think you know, and then at that point, you may be able to start putting things together into what we know as constellations.
You can do.
Yeah.
But again, to begin with, I wouldn't worry too much about constellations.
Yeah.
Try and make your own patterns out of what you can see.
Right.
You'll see stars out there. Make your own patterns up. It's much more fun just to try and make up your own patterns.
Yeah.
And also another fun thing about that is once you've made some patterns and you start to see them again and again, if you travel, you can try and find them in the night sky.
Right.
If you travel a long way, you'll find that they change. They might be on their side, or they might be upside down, depending on where you are on the Earth, which is really quite fun.
Right.
And you also find that what you see in your patch of sky that you found changes.
Right. Yes. So I'm just trying to think, because for somebody like me, I mean, when I've been on holiday somewhere with a very clear sky, whether that's staying in rural France with my sister-in-law, or when we've been lucky enough to go somewhere quite exotic, you look up and you do see this panoply of this amazing sky, which is just so full of stars, it really overwhelms you. In a way, possibly, I think it might be easier to start somewhere with a bit of light pollution. Very terrible that sounds.
You haven't got so much.
Because it narrows the field down a little bit, and it's not quite so, you don't have the Milky Way there and all these stars and planets. But I know one thing is it true that stars sort of flicker when you look at them, as opposed to planets?
Twinkle, twinkle, little star.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star. So why are they twinkling to us?
Stars twinkle because they are so far away that they are effectively tiny point sources of light. So it's like an absolutely tiny pinprick of light, very bright. Yeah. But a pinprick of light that you're seeing. The closest star to us, if you discount the sun, which is a star, because basically stars are just other suns, is 4 light years away. In fact, it's over 4 light years away. That means that light takes 4 years to get from that star to us.
Right.
If you put that in a bit of context,
Context,
we're quite. It's actually hard to get context with
Yeah.
these distances because they're so enormous. But we are quite a long way away from the sun.
Yeah.
And we're so far away that the light from the sun takes over 8 minutes to get to us.
Right.
But that's 8 minutes.
Yeah. But 4 light years. But I mean, essentially,
4 years.
if we're looking at, from what I understand, if you look at some stars, they might be gone. They might have sort of separated.
They may now,
Yeah.
because
But the light that we're seeing from them means that we still see them. But
we're seeing them as if they were with the closest one
right.
4 years
It's quite
ago.
weird, isn't it? It's a weird concept.
It is very, very weird.
Time travel with stars.
But because they're so far away, and obviously the further things are away, the smaller they seem
Yes.
to us. They're these little point sources, and the light comes all the way through space without hitting much until it gets to us, and then it hits our atmosphere.
Right.
And the atmosphere bends the light a bit, and the atmosphere is constantly moving, so the light bends and shifts. And because we're looking at a tiny, tiny point source, as that bends and shifts, it sort of turns the light on and off to us.
Right.
So it twinkles.
Okay.
It's very pretty.
And this is going to sound like an incredibly, well, it is an incredibly ignorant question, but I know we can see most of the planets in our solar system. If some from the naked eye, and some you might need to use a telescope.
Yes.
Yeah, but with stars within our solar system, but with another star from another galaxy, are we able to actually see any other planets other than the ones in our own solar system?
We can actually,
Really?
with really, really, really good cameras, particularly space cameras.
Gosh.
But what we can also do is tell that they're there from the way that they block out light. So you can't do it with the naked eye because they are too far away. But if you've got a very good telescope looking at a star, as a planet moves in front of it or in between the star and us, you can detect the
I see.
the
So it's
dip
sort of
in the light.
negative detection rather than a positive detection.
So, and that's how you may have heard recently over the past 10, 20 years, we've been discovering lots of planets around different stars, and that's one of the methods they use to discover them.
So even if they can't see the actual physical planet, they can see that there's an absence of light, which means that there is a planet.
And they can also do other things, like they can see the gravity of the planet pulling on the star, so they can see the star wobble, if you like, as the planet goes round it. It pulls slightly on the star, and they can detect that wobble.
Right.
So there are all sorts of methods that astronomers use to detect planets.
Yeah.
It's
And
quite
so
incredible.
no chance of any other planets being found in our own galaxy then? That's it.
Oh, in our own galaxy, yes, there are. In our own solar system, there are thoughts that there might be another planet out there.
I meant solar system. Anyway, solar system.
But there are some theories that there is another planet with a really, really big orbit, but we don't know for certain.
But we don't know.
That's there.
Why wouldn't we know that? Because I know the distances are vast, but why wouldn't we know? Because presumably wouldn't it reflect light from the sun? Or is it too far away?
It could be too dim and not reflect the light from the sun.
Gosh, that's quite exciting. So there's a chance that, someone out there could discover a new planet. Could be you.
It could
Who
be.
knows?
Could be.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Very
Exactly.
exciting. So your show is on, was aired on the 12th.
It was aired on the Sunday the 12th of January, and then again last Thursday the something. Anyway, but it's on iPlayer at the moment, and it's called a beginner's guide, and it goes through some of.
Fantastic. Well, I hope everybody's going to watch that. But in the meantime, the other thing I wanted to ask you was, one of the things I think that's really helpful to people today, because we do live in a techie age and we're quite keen on getting things done like now. Can't really snap, but anyway. But like right now, you see something, you want it straight away. So it can be quite frustrating, and I feel your frustration if you've tried, to look up in the sky and think, I literally have no idea what I'm looking at. There's a point over there, there's a point there, but actually it's going to change because Kate says it's going to change. And then I go on holiday and I try and find this, I can't find it. So I know that you mentioned that there's some good apps that people can use to help them.
There are some very good apps. You can just put the app on your phone. Actually, I meant to have my phone with me, but
right.
I don't have it. You might not be able to see it anyway. And you can use the app. You can just hold it up to the sky, and it'll show you what you're looking at. It's
really?
incredible.
So it's like a photo viewer, and then it just...
Yeah, as you move it around, it'll show you the stars, and it'll point you and tell you what the constellations are. There's one called Sky Map. There are a number of others. And
we'll try and put all the links down underneath so that people can have a look. Not that we're saying one or the other is better.
And I was going to say, if there is one pattern that you do learn, one sort of standard pattern, the one that I would try and learn is the plough or the saucepan. Because you can use that.
That's not the Big Dipper, is it?
It is
It's the Big Dipper. That's the one I know.
Yeah,
congratulations
well done.
to me.
Because you can use that to find the North Star. And if you can find the North Star, you can then work out.
It all makes sense. Is that like middle C on the piano?
Well, not really. Well, yes, in some ways, because the North Star is, when you look at it, you're always looking north.
Right.
Because it just so happens to be right above the axis of the Earth's rotation.
Okay.
So, hang on, one thing.
Oh, yes.
I've got some fruit here.
Excellent.
Fruit. This is, believe it or not, the Earth.
Okay. Looking orange today rather than blue and green, but
never mind. But the Earth is rotating.
Yeah.
And as it rotates, that's what gives us our night and day.
Right.
And so, depending on where we are, we're about up here,
yeah,
the northern hemisphere. As we go round, sometimes we're in the sun, and then we rotate around and out of the sun. And when we're away from the sun, we can see other things. So that's nighttime, and we can see the stars.
Right.
And I've totally forgotten why I was talking about this in the first place. Plough, that's it. Yes,
plough.
Because
the North Star.
So as we rotate, it looks to us like the stars are actually moving over the top of us.
Yeah.
Just like it looks to us like the sun is moving, and that's actually again caused by us
actually moving.
Us actually moving around. Right. So you remember I said that patch of night sky that you might look at.
Yeah.
That will change. During the course of a night it'll change because we are moving.
Because we're moving.
We're actually moving, so we'll be moving under the stars and it'll look like the stars are changing in that patch of night sky.
And presumably they're moving as well at the same time.
They are moving, but they're so far away that we really can't see that movement.
Oh really?
The stars, they do change, but not that much.
Okay.
Really, they've been the same for thousands of years, essentially. Because they're so far away from the movement, we just can't
it doesn't make a difference.
really see it. But the only star that doesn't really move is one that just happens to be above the axis of rotation of the Earth, and that's Polaris, the North Star. So it's always there, and it doesn't move fractionally. So if you look at it, you always know where north is, so you can sort of orientate
so
yourself.
that's the first star I'm going to be looking for. So I know that you brought along a basket of fruit.
I brought some fruit, yes, because I thought I might tell you something about why the planets are variable in terms of what you see.
You've got your handy dandy basket of fruit. I've got a
handy dandy cushion,
very
which is taking
heavy
over.
handy dandy pillow cushion to use.
So here we go. We've got a sun.
Okay.
Just make sure the sun doesn't fall off, because that'd be really sad.
Zeus will be angered.
So that's the sun, and then what we have are the planets. So we have.
I told you, Stars 101. Look,
absolutely.
This is where we
Mercury.
are. Mercury.
So the planets are all in different distances. They all orbit the sun in more or less, essentially a circle. It's not quite. When they orbit in the same direction. So they've got Mercury. It's all over your cushion. Venus. We could have our Earth back, couldn't we? I mean, this is kind of not to scale.
That's all right. Well, we like to feel we're quite important as a race, so I think that.
So Mercury, Venus, the Earth, just in terms of.
Yeah. Okay.
And we get Mars. Okay. Mars out here.
Yeah.
Then
this is
we've got Mercury,
Venus, Earth, Mars.
Saturn. No, sorry, Jupiter. Saturn.
Saturn's Jupiter.
Saturn.
Okay.
Uranus.
Is that how you say it? It sounds like you're awkward.
You can say Uranus if you want, but personally I say Uranus.
I think Uranus
because I'm too much of a teenager. It doesn't make me giggle as much. And Neptune out there.
Right.
Now from our
because Pluto's no longer a planet.
Pluto is not
been
considered
downgraded.
a planet.
Okay, so Pluto's
not big enough.
Off the cards.
I know, very, very sad. But all of these, now they're never lined up very, very rarely lined up like this, because whilst they all orbit in roughly a circle, and they all orbit in the same direction and basically in the same plane, they orbit at different speeds.
Right.
So these ones go much faster than these ones. And these two out here we can't really see with the naked eye. So that's little Uranus and Neptune. You can't. They're just so far away. Let's go with them. That you can't really see them with the naked eye.
It's like being on a running track. So obviously the ones on the outside anyway are going to take longer to do a full.
They do. They just
they've got the massive
slower.
handicap.
Yeah, and these ones are zipping around here.
So we're sort of in the middle. We're doing all right.
Now, whether we can see a planet or not in the night sky depends on where it is. Because if we're looking, say we're up here, which is kind of roughly where we are, this would be daytime because we've got the sun over there, and we're looking at the sun. We can't really see, say, these planets were over here.
Yeah.
We wouldn't really be able to see them because they're behind the sun. When we've moved around 12 hours, we're over here, and we're looking out into the night sky. So what's over here is the sort of thing that we can see. So that's why sometimes that's why sometimes you can see planets and sometimes you can't. Sometimes they're over here and sometimes they're round here. Now these two little babies can never be right out here, so you can never see them in the depths of the night. You can never see them all night. If they're here, you really can't see them. And let's take Venus, which is the one that we can see really beautifully at the moment. Now, if Venus is here, you can't see it because you're looking right into the sun. You can only see Mercury or Venus when they're you're looking towards the sun, but not totally towards the sun. So that means it's either morning or evening. So it's in the twilight. It's either dawn or as the sun goes down. And at the moment, you can see Venus as the sun is going down. And because it's quite close to the sun as well, it's reflecting beautifully.
Okay, so it looks quite bright.
And that's why it's so bright, and that's why you tend to see it at that time.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much. Can you give you back
that's great.
your fruit planets? Thank you very much. So I think that makes it much clearer because it's really difficult sometimes to get your head around something that's happened on such a colossal scale that you can't bring it down to human size. So that definitely helped using, or fruit sizing, which is much more helpful. So thank you very, very much. But before we go, I've got a couple of quick fire questions because we've learned a lot about the night sky, planets, stars, galaxies, and solar systems, and fruit possibly. But not a huge amount about cake because we haven't had time. So quick fire question, favourite star?
Boringly, it's got to be the North Star, Polaris, because it tells you where you are. I could say Betelgeuse or Betelgeuse, depending on how you want to pronounce it, because at the moment it's dimming, which is very exciting. It means that it might suddenly explode really soon.
Okay.
Which means...
Within our lifetimes?
No.
No, okay.
Possibly, but sometime in now and 100,000 years, which is kind of a short time scale in astronomical terms.
Favourite planet?
Saturn.
Really? Not Earth?
No, apart from the Earth. Taking Earth aside.
Taking Earth aside. Earth is special, right?
Saturn with its
those rings,
and also its moons, because there might be life on some of its moons.
Really?
It has moons that are icy moons, but underneath the ice there's water. And that water is being heated from the core of some of these moons, so it is possible that there's life there.
That sounds very exciting. Okay, do you have a space hero? Or heroine? Or dog? Space dog that you love?
Dog,
no.
Let's go for space hero. I suppose being TV and media, Chris Hadfield, who is an astronaut,
right?
A Canadian astronaut who has spent quite a lot of time up there on the International Space Station.
Right.
He did a lot of videos when he was up there.
Okay.
He played the guitar. He did all sorts of experiments. It's amazing just seeing somebody squeeze a flannel or a face cloth in space, because the water, of course, doesn't just drip down. It just kind of and he's done loads of really fun things. I just thought that was really great to do in space.
And best planet to visit in 3020. Where will you be if you're around?
Now, best planet to visit, that would have to be the Earth.
Right.
Got to stay on the Earth.
Okay.
I mean,
you're not going to be with Elon Musk out there on Mars then or anything?
Oh,
not hitching a ride
to
SpaceX?
But
no.
We're not made. We did not evolve for space.
Okay, Kate's staying on her.
Quite scary
about that.
I wouldn't mind a trip to the moon. That'd be quite fun.
Okay. Yeah, you can tell me what it's like. I'm not coming. I'm just saying that. Anyway, Kate, thank you so much today. For anyone who's interested, I'm sure you all are, we'll have all the links to the Sky at Night underneath. You'll be able to hopefully click on those or put them into your browser and watch, and some links to the apps. But in the meantime, enjoy watching the Sky at Night.
Thank you, Eileen.
Thank you. Bye.